Welcome to you all to this edition of Meet-Tech within the Tutto Food event. I'm Marco De Vito, Innovation Manager of TECNOALIMENTI. I don't know if the slides are already being displayed.
Okay. Concedetemi giusto due parole.
Just give me 1 minute to present TECNOALIMENTI, public and private consultile association with the contribution of the university and innovation research ministry, and 31 primary companies that represent 12% of the sales in the food industry. You see here represented all of the members and the associates that are the producers in the food industry, and also the suppliers of technologies and services. Of course, the chain requires technologies a lot. It's not just manufacturing, producing the products well, but it's also about shipping, delivering. So Ferrovie dello Stato is also among our associates because there is logistics at stake as well. If we are also present on the European market, we are present on different research platforms, and the group was set up in 1981. We are a non-profit organization and we are very close to the industry. So all of our associates are industries, and so we meet the needs from the industry and we try to propose industrial solutions. That's why we have a strong focus on technology, and we carry out and implement both local, domestic and European projects, and we can rely on a very huge international network together with international companies. Our activity can be broken down into two sections: technological areas, that is to say all of the companies that are part of this network, of this club of innovation, and then also independent projects. So we promote projects, research. There are also some patents, and some of them are also being presented here. And we have a second chapter, so services. We can supply strategic consultancy. We are one of the few companies that can issue food defense certificates. We deal with technology scouting. We carry out technological foresight studies to understand the outlook of the agri-food industry, and also we carry out innovative services also for members and non-members. As far as sustainability is concerned, let's have a look at this quite quickly. We deal with packaging, biodegradable and recyclable microplastics, digitalization of the company, that is to say the IoT core issue that is becoming dominant in the agri-food industry, automation, artificial intelligence, and we also deal with digital solutions aimed or targeting the consumers. So the agri-food chain is a very long one, so we also deal with solutions that can help consumers get to know the products and be more conscious when purchasing products, as well as providing information on disposal of the packaging. And we deal also with sustainable urban food metabolism, so how cities evolve, the flows of goods and services, and how these flows can adapt to the demands of a city. We deal with ecologistics in a sense. And then we also pay attention to the climate neutral food system, so to reduce our ecological footprint of agriculture, precision agriculture and vertical agriculture, then also replacement food, so insect-based flowers, and we also deal with waste and restoration services. Well, now let's get into the core of today's workshop. So from eco-design to the most innovative solutions for smart packaging. Food packaging for years has now played a key role in this industry because of its main role, that is to preserve the product quality along the production and distribution chain, and much research has been done in this sense, but it also touches upon different other fields, and in particular, I'm referring to the environmental footprint. So every year, each individual accumulates 50 kilos of packaging, and this means that every year there are 3 million tons of packaging that needs to be disposed of, and therefore much attention needs to be dedicated to this topic, because we need to find solutions, so with the correct disposal, but also through use of replacement materials. But packaging has also several benefits, because it represents the contact between the brand and the consumer. It becomes a sort of carrier of information, of services that a company can implement for the benefit of consumers. So education, dissemination of information, awareness campaigns. So this is the first actor, first interface that is between a brand and a consumer. I would like to give you an overview of the solutions that we would like to implement, and let's get started with a speech by CONAI. And thank you, Giulia, for being here today. And Giulia will outline the regulation in terms of use of packaging and the tools that CONAI can offer to support companies during the planning of packaging, of course, in view of eco-design, which means to develop packaging considering the environmental implications during the product, the packaging life cycle, until the final disposal. And then immediately after Giulia, there is another speaker, a proposal of a smart packaging to help consumers and dispose of their packaging, and to comply with the new regulation on environmental label. So to say, to turn this regulatory framework into an opportunity to develop services for consumers. After that, there is the presentation of a new proposal for the agro-food products. It's a tool to guarantee consumers during the purchase phase, guaranteeing made in Italy products, to fight against counterfeiting. Counterfeiting of the made in Italy accounts for more than 100 billion euros, so it's actually the double of the sales we export. And finally, there will be an innovation case
progetti europei per lo sviluppo
within a European project with bio-based, biodegradable and biocompostable products, materials. I give the floor to Giulia, CONAI.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning.
Allora, inizierei con una brevissima presentazione mia.
I would like to start by introducing myself. I'm Giulia Picerno. I'm in charge of eco-design activities and projects targeting producers of packaging to support those companies in implementing more sustainable and more circular
Quando
packaging.
parliamo di circolarità del packaging,
when we talk about the circularity of the packaging, we have to also refer to the importance of the whole supply chain. So there needs to be an integrated collaboration within this chain, which is quite a complex chain, because when talking about packaging, we as consumers, we need to work with primary packaging, the ones that we handle in our daily life. But on top of that, even though we do not know, there are many other different types of packaging, the secondary and the tertiary ones during for warehouse or for shipment, which represent an important share of the total packaging in Italy. So it's a huge amount. The supply chain is a complex one, as I was saying. Innovation and technology needs to integrate in a 360-degree approach along all of the links of this change. Those who design the packaging that needs to be in contact with those who provide raw materials, then the producers of the manufacturing, those who are in charge of filling, those who are in charge of distribution, the consumers, of course, those consumers as well have quite an important task, because this circular line needs to be perfectly balanced. And then the end of life of packaging, so to say the packaging can be reused and transformed into a new resource. And this is, of course, necessary for all these stakeholders to be connected to each other. They need to collaborate to achieve a common goal through system strategy.
Tra l'altro, diciamo, l'eco-design del packaging,
Eco-design,
tenere in considerazione tutti questi
besides considering all of these aspects, which are very complex, needs also to take into consideration some other complex elements which are related to the evolution of the functions of packaging over the years. We think of packaging as something that was intended to store and transport products, but then as time went by, packaging adjusted to the requirements of the society. So there was really a strong evolution, considering the increasing number of consumers, the consumption patterns over the last 50 to 60 years. Consumption habits have changed. The trends have completely changed, and so packaging as a consequence has served other functions that we cannot do without today. So it's communication in first line. So it's not just communicating the product's characteristics, which are mandatory, by the way, but a packaging also serves other functions, marketing, for example, purposes on the shelves of our supermarkets and stores. And then packaging are more are user-friendly and more functional, because they are used to hold the product, but also to warm, for example, a soup in a microwave and eating this soup directly from the container. So packaging is not just a pack itself in the narrow sense of the term, but it is used as part of the product product to enjoy the product, the function of it. So packaging,
nel caso specifico quando parliamo di prodotti alimentari,
with food products has a social and economic functions, and I would also add an environmental one, because food waste is nowadays a very current topic, which entails ethical implications as well, besides economic ones. And when we talk about sustainability, the role of packaging is paramount, because it allows us to protect the environment while reducing food waste. In most cases, on average, the product that is in a packaging has an environmental impact which is 4 times higher than the impact that the pack itself has on the environment. So of course we need to focus on eco-design to reduce the environmental impacts of the packaging, while still remembering that packaging can serve so many functions. So we need to again go back to this circular system.
Dal punto di vista anche della normativa ambientale,
from a regulatory viewpoint, the packaging has evolved, and we can state that the packaging industry has been forerunner of this circular economy. So packaging industry has been the first sector to develop rules and a regulatory framework in terms of the end of life of the packs. And also circular economy started to be introduced, even though at that time this was not the expression that was used during the 80s, when for the first time the EU has decided to regulate the end of life of plastic bottles. And in 1984, the EU directive was developed, the Packaging Waste Directive. It is the mother directive for the management of packaging in 1994, that was absorbed by the Ronchi decree in Italy in 1997, which defines the goals for recycle and recovery of packaging. This directive was updated over the time and has included some more ambitious objectives, and we now have the package of circular economy of 2018 with even more ambitious objectives than the existing ones, but there are some other topics at stake, in particular the design and a separate collection that needs to be a quality one. We as citizens, we need to separate waste, and we have achieved very effective results, but we need to put more efforts, not just to increase the current figures, but to have also a quality increase. And in this sense, companies have an important role, because of course communication needs to be taken into account. Communication is a key when talking about eco-design and circularity. CONAI is a private consortium. It is a non-private consortium made up of producers and users of packaging. 800,000 companies are part of our consortium. It aims at achieving the recycle and recovery objectives of packaging materials, and it does so through chain consortiums. So there is one consortium for each material: plastic, bioplastics, glass, wood, paper, and so on and so forth. These consortiums collect packaging that are in turn collected by municipalities to start a recycle process in case process is available, or for energy efficiency in case recycling is not possible. CONAI reports through the management and prevention general program the national data for recycling and recovery, and it also makes predictions. It makes predictions and forecasts for the next few years future. And there are 7 consortia in particular that collaborate with our CONAI to take care of end of life of our packaging. What are the current results we have achieved? In 2020, 13.1 million tons of packaging for consumed products were put on the market, so it's quite a huge amount, but with a reduction of minus 4.6% compared to 2019, and the decrease, I think, is also due to the pandemic and the impact the pandemic had on the consumptions that were completely different in 2020 compared to the previous years because of the crisis that this field was suffering from. And consumers kept on working hard on waste sorting, because during the pandemic consumers kept on separate waste in a very good and better way, and this allowed an increase of the recycling results. 9 million tons of packaging recycled in 2020, and the recycling percentage was of 73%, and this was increased compared to the previous year thanks to the commitment and the efforts by citizens. In total, if we sum up the tons that were recycled and the materials that were sent to the recovery process, almost 11 million tons of packaging were object of these processes. These are the results divided by material, and there is a comparison between current goals and future goals. So I have explained to you what the regulation requires. So there are some recycling goals that are always more and more ambitious. There are current obligations that are all met, as you can see from the chart, and the ones from 2025 to 2030 are already being met for almost all of the materials. The goals have been achieved by the country, by Italy. There are still some gaps to be bridged, and we are now working on these gaps. There is indeed a strategy that includes the whole supply chain, from the designers of packaging to citizens that separate waste, and those who are in charge of recycling and recovery. So in this framework, the role of eco-design is essential, because everything starts from the designing of packaging. The packaging designers need to provide correct information to citizens so that there can be a correct sorting, and so that packaging can be easily separated and collected in the correct way. And the designers need also to implement packaging that can be easily selected by technologies at the end of life and recycled. And the designers of packaging need also to take into consideration that the materials generated by the recycling process can be then reused. So everything deals with the design step. Therefore, it is fundamental for those stakeholders to be in contact with all of the other stakeholders in the supply chain.
non c'è una ricetta predefinita.
Well, there is no one
Ok, ho fatto
formula
design, ho fatto bene, ho fatto il
to
mio,
understand whether it was done well or not. So there's not one solution. Eco-design is an endless process, so there is always room for improvement.
Potenzialmente possiamo non smettere mai di
Indeed, we could continue to improve this process
delle migliorie
and
alle performance ambientali
better the environmental performances of our packaging. Of course, there is not just one step that is the end of life, and we cannot just take it for granted that we need to use renewable materials. We need to consider the whole life cycle of packaging and its environmental impact, considering each step. What you can see here in this slide, they are the effectiveness of processes, effectiveness of resources, transport, primary functions of packaging, recyclability, but not just that. So recyclability is one of the aspects within eco-design, and all of these aspects need to be considered together.
Probabilmente quando facciamo eco-design,
when we think of eco-design, we cannot just improve each of these elements all together, because it's, let me use an example, it's a linen that has a definite size, so if you put it on one side, you uncover another side. So there can be, or there might be, some ineffectiveness in terms, for example, of raw materials. And a typical example would be to move from non-recyclable, flexible packaging to a more rigid or stiff material, which still has some more benefits in terms of recyclability. So there's not one correct solution or one better choice. It is always a synergy between the characteristics of the packaging, the impact of its end of life, and the requirements and needs that need to be fulfilled in terms of transport, planning, consumption. So there is not one fixed solution. The design of the pack needs to be studied considering different elements, while at the same time considering the location or the area where this packaging is going to be consumed. So the reason why this packaging was put onto the market. So if we want to trace a roadmap of sustainability, there are actually different stages, different approaches that we can adopt for eco-design.
Diversi aspetti su cui possiamo intervenire per fare eco-design.
And we can take actions for each of these stages. So effectiveness of resources, reusability of the packaging, recyclability of packs, use of primary and secondary materials that are recycled. So all of these elements need to be considered all together to understand what is better according to each given situation. So case by case. But there is one unavoidable element when dealing with eco-design. It's information. So again, it's to provide consumers with the right information, because consumers play a key role. So you can have the best recyclable material for packaging, but if consumers won't do their own, so won't sort that material, our efforts will be useless. Of course, if consumers purchase a product, our pack, but do not understand the environmental characteristics of our pack, or they do not understand our explanations, or maybe they think that they don't believe us because they think that we are doing more greenwashing than we actually do. Because consumers, you know, they are worried maybe too much by different types of communications that they receive. They are confused, they are overwhelmed by this massive information. So we need to align as much as possible the information given to make it more user-friendly, and this would allow consumers to understand what we want to communicate them. This would be more trust between us and the consumers, and consumers could understand our efforts when dealing with eco-design.
And so information is a key element for eco-design. We never have to give it up. These are some figures of a research study that we have carried out with Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna in Pisa, just to better understand how consumption and circular consumption is moving, so how consumers are actually attracted to do circular consumption and how they understand information written on the packaging. So 70% of respondents actually declare that environmental labels and information on the packaging actually deliver credible and reliable information vis-a-vis environmental quality of products and packaging. Be careful, packaging has also a very important role because it is recognized as a kind of ambassador of the values of the brand, of the products. And so, as we said, on the packaging, the consumers find plenty of information, and this is recognized actually as representative of the product itself. For 3 out of 4 respondents, labeling of packaging has a positive effect on the perception of the product. As we were saying, so sustainable packaging actually gives the idea to consumers that the product is more sustainable. And 60% of respondents declare that all these qualities, this information written on the pack, actually has an impact on purchasing decisions. So information is a kind of a vehicle of information to push purchases. So how do consumers search for information? 37% of respondents confirm that they search for information on the product when they buy the product in the supermarket, and 21% through the QR code. So just to give you the context of this research study was actually carried out during the pandemic. And so we had a kind of confirmation of how this difficult period actually had an effect on the ability of making the country more digitalized and also consumers more digital in a very rapid and fast way compared to the regular pace we would have had without the pandemic. So plenty of people just confirm that they use digital channels to search for information. And 37% of respondents actually search for information, environmental information, even when they buy online. And so this peak of respondents, because we're talking about a very important percentage, 37%, is also related to the moment we went through. And this was actually a key for us to prepare questions for consumers. So this is the strategy that takes into consideration the stakeholders of the supply chain, the different elements and parts of the supply chain, notwithstanding the eco-design. So CONAI puts into practice this strategy on different levels. on different sustainability levels and also on different intervention levels on the supply chain. But we start from the same concept. So we start from eco-design with a great project that is called the Thinking of the Future. Then we go on the different aspects with some interventions that can actually work on the environmental contribution that companies have to pay to the consortium in order to be in line with their commitments. So if you pollute, you have to pay. So these companies pay just to cover the cost related to the management of the end of life of the packaging. It also works on the development of quality waste sorting through a partnership with municipalities and also through projects in order to enhance the quality of waste sorting with some specific projects, above all of some areas that are lagging behind. So maybe in southern Italy, some areas really need an additional push in order to improve and enhance the quality of their waste sorting in order to get to better results for recycling. And the system also acts on R&D activities related to the end of life in order to improve recyclability of packaging, to improve the use of the secondary raw materials for new production cycles, so that the cycle can actually be closed concretely, so to say. So thinking of the future, this is the title of one of the most important projects that fall within this activity by CONAI. It deals with eco-design. We are talking about some tools available for companies in order to get information, to find practical tools, and also to be awarded for their eco-design activities implemented vis-à-vis their packaging. upPE-T is one of the most historical projects by CONAI. This is a webmail responding to issues related to recyclability and labeling of packaging. So, considering the entry into force of the mandatory environmental labeling for packaging, upPE-T has shown some progress for new projects concerning this topic by developing a tool that helps companies to identify content that should be present on the environmental label of the pack, and also a specific website with guidelines, documents, and also answers to the most common questions for companies. Then planning recycling, a collection of guidelines for the recycling of packaging. Guidelines are drawn up with the best design universities, planning universities at the national level. Up to now, we have guidelines for plastic packaging, paper packaging, aluminium packaging, and the project is to expand this platform also to other materials. Then EcoD tool, a simplified LCA tool designed for CONAI members in order to have simplified analysis of the pack and also to draw some inspirations and insight to enhance the eco-design of the packaging. And then the call for tender of CONAI, it is an initiative to award companies that actually are committed to preparing this eco-design for packaging. So we think that good practices can actually create a virtuous contamination, so to say, and involve other companies. And so some activities like the call of tender for eco-design allows us to take this additional step in order to disseminate information and to offer some training, also through some awards that are actually well deserved by companies. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm here available if you have other questions. So I'd like to thank Giulia Picerno by CONAI. So packaging has a fundamental role for the sustainability impact, and also CONAI has a crucial role to support companies through different tools. And as Giulia Picerno was saying, training and information of consumers are extremely important. So we can have tools available, but if consumers are not trained and well informed how to sort everything, so the upstream effort is vanified, so to say. And so this is actually the object of the second speech. So a tool that is actually designed to involve consumers, to offer information, to train consumers vis-a-vis the right sorting and disposal of packaging. So Fabio Pighini is here with us, the marketing and sales consultant of TECNOALIMENTI. So good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marco, for your introduction. I'd like to thank Giulia for the presentation and for the collaboration that we are having. So we talk about smart packaging solutions available for companies in order to communicate a set of information, among which the environmental label. So let's try to summarize the concept of packaging. We know that the packaging is now considered the fifth P of marketing mix, so together with advertising, price, product, and so on, packaging can create an additional value to communicate a set of values related to the product. So the smart packaging, the solutions in particular, act on the elements that are related to marketing, so quality perceived of the product, the ability to retain customers for a specific service or product, the quality perceived. Again, the packaging is able to distinguish the product from the competitors' ones. It can actually convey the values of the company. It can create some curiosity in consumers. So packaging can actually have a very significant impact, above all on some topics related to the marketing mix. We can say that smart packaging solutions are plenty today. They are increasing, they are evolving. And among these solutions, we have the advanced QR code, as Giulia was presenting previously. Solutions related to advanced materials. Let's think of special inks that are used by companies, or RFID codes or NFC technologies through the use of tags, and also the augmented reality. So within the smart packaging world, we have maybe a less evolved packaging, the ones that actually have some links on the pack, and then maybe through the links the consumer can browse. But augmented reality today is creating the best or the highest added value for consumers, and it is the most efficient in terms of process and consumption. So as regards to the trend for augmented reality, it is interesting to see a research study by Gartner, where we see that augmented reality and virtual reality are ranking first vis-a-vis the mega trends of the following years. They actually rank second. We see that in 2020, 100 million consumers actually purchased products through the augmented reality. Some filters applied in social media that allow actually the consumers maybe to try on the pair of sunglasses that they like and see the fit. And maybe this can also lead to the conversion of the purchase directly on the website of the company. Yes, this is something that is already existing. And within the retail world, we have some typical examples by IKEA, where they use these technologies to create a more immersive customer experience. IKEA gives to customers the possibility to visualize and view a piece of furniture directly in their home thanks to augmented reality. Augmented reality will become a technology also for dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing is actually something that will be implemented also through the 5G technology by 2025, and this allows you to update in real time the prices of products from the brick and mortar stores to the digital world. So consumers, when we think of consumers, the millennial generations and the Z generation, so these consumers tend not to read. So packaging with some information where actually we have not enough space to include plenty of information. Or let's think about the Z generation that actually prefers interactive multimedia content. So I think that it is better to convey messages through video content or interactive content. So using augmented reality allows to target Z generation in the best way possible, just to convey them all messages that we would like to include in the packaging. And this is because communication, and actually I'm showing you the learning pyramids by Dale. So there we see the rate of spontaneous remembering of a message in relationship with the type of communication the person is exposed. And you see on top of the pyramid that actually we just see that 10% of people can naturally remember what they read. So words that you are listening to in this conference, or words that you usually listen to in a conversation, can just be remembered for 20%, and a video can be remembered 50%. And so the more immersive the experience is, and the higher the rate of remembering is. This is the reason why companies tend to communicate through videos more and more, and not more by using infographics or images of a specific type. Real advantages of augmented reality are plenty, are numerous. So consumers is able to try firsthand, so to say, and verify the product immediately. Because a very important concept is the time to content, so the time that is needed to receive important information vis-a-vis that product. So by using augmented reality, the consumer is able to have plenty of information related to the product, the most important one, so to say. So there is no waste of time to search for information on the browser, on YouTube, or on the company website. Augmented reality actually allows us to unlock some content, multi-media and also interactive content. And this is the reason why companies are looking for this driver to target consumers and to try to measure the impact. And also, this allows us to reassure consumers because the process is more and more immersive. So technically speaking, in 2017, we performed and carried out a project. The name was ASA. So this project was initially devoted to the Silver Age, so to consumers struggling with reading labels. So through augmented reality, we could lead them towards more easily readable elements, so something that could be enlarged or audio content. But after that, we rethought of this project in a different way, and we wanted to evolve it and to turn it into something that was more accessible to companies, to make it at disposal of different companies, above all the agri-food companies. The project was supported by the CONAI collaboration because we decided to add to this app also environmental issues and topics. So we wanted to add the environmental label, to help to improve consumer awareness vis-a-vis recycling. So I'd like to show you a video right now because, as we said, it is more immersive compared to the storytelling by itself. And as you see, augmented reality through this ASA project is very easy to be applied. It is a multi-brand app that allows the interaction between the packaging and the consumer, and it allows to unlock a set of content from the multi-level and interactional level. So here you see some buttons, you can see ingredients, how to prepare them, allergens. So through these we can maybe communicate to the consumers the presence of some ingredients that can be harmful, or maybe we can create some video recipes, and so we can include some details related to the cooking of the element, or maybe we could also add infographics and videos telling us all the concepts related to the environmental sustainability of this product. So here you see an example of infographic. Through the CONAI help, we were able to convey information vis-a-vis the recycling of this material, and we also created some bias to create curiosity in the consumers. And so all these types of communication actually also create a higher value for the brand, a better communication and engaging communication vis-a-vis environmental issues and topics. You see a video directly on the bottle, so you see that actually you can create any kind of multimedia content. It is interesting also because you have the possibility to add and include links to the company website, to the social media, so you can reach directly to the social media of the company in order to increase the interactions with the social media. And this will become more and more important in the future. Many companies are following this path, and all these aspects can be actually integrated in the tool, such as the use of games, for example, or information related to recycling, and also information related to other topics that are more and more becoming the object of legislators and regulators. I was talking about the efficiency of the augmented reality. Augmented reality is very efficient because it doesn't require any change in packaging. The technology of the ASA project that we are expanding is actually related to the computer vision technology. So the camera of the smartphone can actually recognize the markers of the packaging that was actually included in the system. So you don't need to have the QR code, you don't need to have specific graphical elements. It is enough to have the packaging with some graphical elements that can be recognized by the app. We were talking about the opportunity of engaging consumers more and more, and this is essential for the topic of the context. So let's think about supermarkets. This product with this added value is for sure very interesting for consumers. Let's think, for example, at the example. If you have a look at my slide, you have in the example number 1 the opportunity to view some details also for cooking and preparing food. And this can maybe be translated into a higher conversion rate. In example number 2 of the slide, you see that this cereal box is transformed into a game ground or playground, and so the contest is actually happening online multimedially, so we can have the contest organized by the company, or maybe we can turn the box into a game itself, and this has very positive reflexes and effects on the branding.
avanti questa slide. Ok, sul discorso invece dell'app, ecco, l'app è molto semplice, è un'app
As for the app is a multi-brand app. It is very simple and intuitive. You can add a set of products. Right now, we are more focused on the agri-food markets, but for the future, we'd like to expand the category of products included. But it is enough to open the app, to frame and zoom the products, and then all these elements will pop up. As for the environmental label we were talking about with the CONAI consortium, ASA, as a smart packaging solution, is compliant with the provision of reference. We went even beyond. We added information related to how to position the packaging in the right way, how to break down the different elements of the packaging. And we also gave some nuggets, so to say, in order to create curiosity in the consumers and how they can have more virtuous behaviors and the effect that those behaviors can have concretely. Because we know that sustainability, environmental sustainability topics are the most important ones in terms of customer choices. According to a study by Osservatorio Packaging Largo Consumo, we know that 99% of consumers require solutions that respect the environment. So consumers are really sensitive vis-à-vis environmental sustainability. So with this smart packaging solution that is now evolving, and I'd like to briefly show you the changes that we are undertaking right now, so we can create a bridge between multimedia and interactive content, digital content by companies, and the physical packaging. So it is something that can speak directly to consumers. And the most interesting thing is that this content can be continuously updated. So the environmental label, for example, in the near future, maybe we decide to change the material of the packaging, so you don't have to reprint all the labels. So we can just update the label digitally on the app of the information that has been changed. We were talking about the novelties for next year, 2022. So environmental label, we said, but producers will also have to include the nutritional value label. The kind of label has not been defined yet, but after this presentation, you have understood that infographics for nutritional facts is something that is extremely simple, and our platform can easily create a set of information and the right communication with consumers. ASA project is now evolving, and we are improving this platform to make it more accessible to companies, so that companies can add their products and they can update the content. And this is the reason why I like to leave the floor to my colleague Federico Guidi by REALMORE, that will present the new evolution for our app, our new proposal towards the market. Thank you very much, Federico.
Grazie Fabio, e grazie a tutti.
Thank you, Fabio.
Un'ora e mezza da Corso Sempione qua, non penso di non aver...
So sorry, I was actually in Tangenziale, so the highway, and it took me 1 hour and a half just to drive 5 kilometers. So sorry for that.
Cosa facciamo?
Now I'd like to talk about us and what we do. We have accepted the challenge of TECNOALIMENTI to help develop ASA and turn it into a more performing and more scalable app for clients and for businesses. So we have started to develop augmented reality solutions 10 years ago.
tuttora sviluppiamo soluzioni
And right now we develop solutions through three platforms that we have performed.
piattaforma cloud AR/VR, che è quella che utilizzeremo.
The cloud's platform AR, VR, that we will use to further develop as the smart assistance platform to support workers and operators on site, maybe to perform maintenance, to perform quality checks. And this is really useful to make companies more productive and more performing. And last but not least, the virtual training platform to help operators, workers to learn information faster and more easily.
Vediamo invece adesso come stiamo pensando di sviluppare ulteriormente.
Let's now see how we would like to further develop the ASA app. First of all, content are embedded right now. So this content is embedded in the app. So the idea is to create a cloud environment to upload content so that the app is more scalable. In terms of scalability, we have right now an internal management of content because it used to be done by the previous agency. So we'd like to build a back end and a dashboard to be used by clients that could manage and add content directly. So we will go from a statical architecture of the app to a completely dynamic platform that is more scalable and more performing. So we'll go from a service app to an experiential app because we foresee a set of new content that could be added. Oh, great, thank you. As for the evolution of the app, here you see some details of the process. So we will add a back end to be used by clients, and so we foresee a cloud system. So the possibility to download content step by step within the app. So this will make the app lighter. And each time the app will recognize some content through the markers of the packaging, the app will download the related content. So the dashboard is at disposal of clients, and so clients will have the opportunity to upload directly content, modify pieces of content every day, and each time they like to do. And this will allow them to manage some campaigns related to the packaging, and also to upload things, to stop things, so to say, to see the historical details of the campaigns, and to take into control, so everything that is related to packaging in terms of campaigns. And then you also see that in the dashboard there is the possibility to add some analytics, and there our customers and clients will have the possibility to check what's going on for each single packaging or pack, so where they are viewed, which are maybe the preferences of consumers, and so on and so forth. As for the new functionalities, here you see the slides. So user profiling, right now there is no this possibility, but in the future the user can have this profiling process to get access to new content, maybe also to be able to download some coupons for discount. Geolocalization of experiences, so this will allow us to show information related to recycling, for example, vis-a-vis the municipality and the region of reference. You know that different municipalities actually have slightly different policies for the recycling of materials. So the app recognizes the position you are in, and the app offers you the information related to recycling of that specific area. So for sure we will have a push on social networks because sharing is extremely important right now. So now the app allows just a limited sharing experience, but we will increase also this aspect. And last but not least, we would like to go from a service app to an experiential one, because people would like to have fun, would like to have funny content, and so we'd like to offer information but also entertaining experiences in order to make this app more appealing, maybe with the opportunity to access to games, to have some coupons for discounts. So all information, all kind of information that can be actually interesting for consumers. Last but not least, and then I leave the floor to Fabio again, because they made up this naming, so to say. This is a new logo and the new name of the app from ASA, will transform it into B-side, the digital way to packaging. Yes, just to conclude, we will become so the little B of augmented reality, so to say. So the idea is to allow consumers to perceive the presence of a platform and also of a highway that leads them to a set of content, interactive content, and that actually increases the offer towards consumers. So I now would like to leave you and to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabio. Pighini, this is the evolution. There is much more augmented reality than we would expect. So you really understand that we have to do with augmented reality, even if you do not realize that. And we think that this is also the future of consumers' engagement vis-a-vis interaction with packaging. And this is an experience that also brings benefits to the company. It's a bi-directional communication. It's not just advertisement, it's a two-way communications, because the company, thanks to analytics, can get information as for where the product is distributed, the interactions with consumers, and again in the field of packaging, the importance of authentication. So we said 100 billion euros of counterfeited products. So if I buy an important fine wine in the US, I can pay up to $80, and I want to be certain of the quality of the wine I am buying, and I'm not talking or buying something that was counterfeited. So it's about authentication system, and the floor is to Eric Jones, who is Director of Business Development in Inexto in Lausanne. They are leading a brand in this system, authentication, serialization, and tracking solutions. Thanks, the floor is yours. Buongiorno. Before starting, I would like to say that my Italian is not my mother tongue, so I apologize for not speaking Italian that well. But today, I want to deal with some elements that can help companies and consumers alike. First, who we are. We are Inexto, a Swiss company. We have already gained experience in serialization, digital passport, traceability, and authentication. This is the focus of our company. The idea is to give the correct transparency of a supply chain. We are quite young. It was set up in 2016, But as you see from figures, it has already quite an industrial approach because we have more than 1,200 lines that use our tracking system or our serialization systems, and we do that for more than 100 billion products worldwide. In terms of traceability, in the food industry, we have several solutions, but you see we operate in different fields: luxury products, food and beverage, automotive, spare parts, in particular in the automotive field, then textile, and pharmaceutical cosmetic industry. And then as for some products, alcohol and tobacco, then this is a request by the regulatory, but for some other industries, it's more a problem of counterfeiting. We can offer different solutions that can be used for sustainability, for carbon footprint, for recycling, and for environmental issues. We also do tracking, as we say, from farm to fork, from the very beginning. So when you collect meat to the table, so to the finished product. And in terms of brand protection, we also have companies who really need to protect their brands, because they invest so much money on those brands. The consumers pay a lot to have the original product and not the fake one. And on top of that, we have also started to open up a branch in China of Inexto and one in Russia as well, besides the other branches we already have in other countries. So in terms of traceability,
è proprio per dare questa l'importanza della trasparenza.
Transparency for us is key, and consumers need to trust the brands, so how the product is made, the whole system, and a company can provide consumers information, and we help them provide this information to consumers. This is an example of the integration of different levels of systems and solutions to protect a product. So there is code on the pack. It's a unique code. Then aggregation of this code is done with the code that is on the packaging or on the pallet even. When the product is being shipped from the factory, a software in Inexto helps keeping track of that product through the whole distribution chain. Of course, we use GS1 codes because for the distribution chain, this is the most important one. Of course, the system is outsourced in a cloud, in a database. It's called Inextract. And we have also developed another app to scan the codes and to retrieve the information on the product. Then serialization, I think you all know what it is. There is a unique secure code. We do a pairing, which is the combination, the pairing indeed, of a product together with a code. And I have already covered these points. And as for the external module, as you can see here, there are different functions: scanning the products when received, scanning the products when sold. So it's a scan in, scan out, scan return, so you really know where the product is. And the great benefit here is in terms of cost. The cost is quite low and the system is very user-friendly. We have tried it with many companies in Italy.
Il governo ha mandato, diciamo, forzato l'industria del tabacco, per esempio.
When the government forced the tobacco industry to set up a traceability system, we developed this software exactly for that purpose, not just for the industry itself, but also for the stores that sell tobacco-like products. But it also works with RFID, GS1 compliant, and cloud-based. And Marco, before me, mentioned the analytics, which is also an important aspect for the companies, because there is a full control of the distribution, where the product goes, and you know if there is any issue with one product, you know how to detect it. For example, in France, there were some problems related to milk powders, baby milk. And we did not know how to retrace that batch, so where the product was sold. And this is an issue. So with the traceability system, of course, we can fully retrieve and recall this information because we know where the products were distributed. And of course, also this is beneficial to the intelligence of the market because you know where the products are true, original, or fake. We have also developed one app to help companies verify the products, but this app can also be used by consumers. Consumers-wise, there are some information that are this is very useful because consumers can know the country of origin of the product, and they can get health and safety information and check whether this information is true or not. And there also religious information can be added. There are information in terms of quality, or for example some notes on the allergens contained in the products. For companies, this system allows more transparency on the product, and this transparency can be improved and builds more trust and customers' loyalty. Product recall is one of the most important benefits because for a company it can be quite expensive. The bigger the company, the more expensive the product recall. But for a small company, it can also be expensive in terms of reputation, even though there are different volumes at stake. Let's now get to the authentication, because traceability is used often to authenticate. So we have developed for the authentication something more. It's called Moire technology, which consists of dots and lines. You see on the slide where you can read the IN in that box, and it can be used by anyone, consumers, brand owners, companies, And it can also be used by the law enforcement agencies, custom duties, or officials, police forces that need to verify the products on the market. What is the advantage? It can be scalable, so on small and bigger volumes. It is very cost effective, and currently it is used by small and big companies alike globally. And there is one benefit: it is very discreet, so it can be hidden in a logo or in a text on a product. Of course, this is a choice up to the company. And there is another important aspect, because the company does not have additional printing costs or other related costs. So this is, of course, a great advantage. And this technology can also be applied to offline offset digital printing, laser marking. In Italy, this is not an issue, but it is important also to stress this. You can also check the results offline. So if you are, for example, in a basement or in an area where there's no connection, then you can still check the authentication with your smartphone offline.
Uno ha la possibilità di dare ogni tipo di informazione che l'azienda voglia fare. Può essere a livello del
you can obtain any type of information that you want to convey. You can be marketing information, the ingredients. So this is a choice that a company needs to make. So you, as a company, you choose what information you want to communicate to consumers. And then, of course, the information can be used by the brand protection team or by the customs or other enforcement agencies to inspect the product. And here are some examples of where you can put these. So pre-printed labels, or it can also be engraved directly on aluminium, or also laser engraving is possible. For example, on bottle printing, this is an example. This is printed directly on glass. And there are authentication certificates, warranty certificates, and so on and so forth.
Come l'ho detto, si può verificare la verificazione con un'app.
The verification can be done through an app.
E puoi dare anche informazioni su con GPS positioning.
And GPS positioning can also be given as an information, so you know where the product that was verified is located. And of course, this information is available to the company as well. The company does not know where the consumer is, but where the product was verified. And of course, you also have a history of the checks regarding one given product. For a consumer, or for the law enforcement agency, or for the custom offices, so in the cases where there are very many products to be checked. Of course, there can be hundreds of thousands of apps, because we know that if you upload in a smartphone 20 apps, then the smartphone becomes very slow. So we have also developed one opportunity, that is to take a picture of a product. The picture is sent to a data server,
che vi fa la verificazione direttamente,
which makes the verification directly on a web platform, and then the information is sent back to the consumer with the outcome of the results, so whether the product is genuine or not. And this solution is already being used by law enforcement agencies and customs, because of course you can imagine they have to deal with thousands of different products, hundreds of different brands in companies, so they cannot just have one app for each brand.
E poi adesso per finire,
and just to conclude,
un video, non so se...
I have a short video that I would ask the direction technicians to play, please.
Siamo in Svizzera per niente, eh?
It's not Switzerland, eh?
Grazie per l'attento.
Thank you for your
grazie
attention.
Eric.
Thank you, Eric. I have one question. It's more a curiosity on my side, because we have not mentioned this. How does this platform comply with the blockchain word, blockchain? Actually, blockchains can be used, but we don't make use of that, because the information is already embedded in our solution. But if a company, for example, does not want to have a full traceability, then a company can start using blockchains, because blockchains protect the information,
l'informazione sul prodotto.
Even though you do not have the specific information on the product, so you need additional information. You would need to have an ID for the product. So the two are compatible, they can be put together, but our traceability system does not need blockchains because it's already embedded. So your solution is very consistent, it's self-independent, whereas blockchains would replace the database that you make available to consumers. So, Eric, thank you very much. I give the floor rapidly to Marianna Faraldi, and Marianna is going to give us an outline on the results of new materials that we have developed within research projects. So Marianna, the floor is yours.
Dunque, oggi abbiamo visto principalmente servizi.
So good morning, sorry, everyone. We have seen today services we are working on as TECNOALIMENTI. Actually, TECNOALIMENTI is a research body, so I'm here today as my role of senior research to briefly share with you a couple of projects we have been working on for the packaging and some results that we are getting. The first project is the BioBarr project. To be able to talk about this project, I think it is extremely important to frame the context we work in. So we are in a context where we know that fossil plastics actually are a problem that we need to face, and we can face it in different ways. First of all, with recycling, and we have talked about it with the previous speakers, or we might find alternative solutions, so new materials that can actually replace the ones that we are currently using. For sure, new materials in order to be used will have to actually face some challenges that I have summarized on this slide. So new materials should be comparable in terms of performance with the materials currently in use and that we have been using for decades. So properties of new materials should be comparable, as I said, in terms of mechanical features, so in terms of protection, barrier properties, and they should guarantee safety and hygiene of the product packaged inside. On the other hand, we should also guarantee quantities. So if we really wanted to move away from current materials and implement bioplastics, biopolymers, we should be able to guarantee that we have enough raw materials to take this jump. And last but not least, cost, because companies, food companies are not ready to take this jump if the cost of new materials are too high compared to the materials currently in use, but also investing. So the possibility to use existing machinery without making new investments is extremely important as well. So all these aspects were taken into consideration within the BioBarr project. This project is financed by the European Commission. It started in 2017 and it is mainly based on the family of polyhydroxyl alkanoates. So these are very promising substances also in terms of biodegradability in the environment. So the choice of this material, of this starting feedstock, was related to some deep analysis and also to the fact that we were close to the producers. So after a fermentation process, after the right microbes to be used, we decided to use the molasses, and we decided to use the PHBV for these molasses. So the main passage is to have PHA in powdered, and then through the selection of additives, these can turn into pellets, and so substantially into grains of bioplastics that we wanted to test in order to create a flexible food packaging application. So the so-called rolls and reels that are used at industrial level in order to package food. So starting from these pellets, pellet through the extrusion process, we get to a film. And this film is a pure PHA without, unfortunately, the needed barrier properties to be applied within the food industry, because oxygen and vapor could go through it, and so the food will deteriorate very rapidly, the food inside the packaging. So through this research study, we consider the possibility to use this material in a different way. What I mean by different, maybe to combine it to another material, in our case, PLA, that is largely used at the industrial level. Above all, through the use of the spraying of aluminium in order to create this barrier layer. So we have this allox treatment and metallization. These were actually the attempts to improve the barrier qualities of this material in order to apply it in the food industry. We tested all of these in real conditions through a partner in the bakery industry, Corsini, a producer that is based in Tuscany. I'd like to briefly show you some of the results we were able to obtain during the years, because we can share some important information and also research information. So we tested and verified that PHA, starting from the formula, can for surely be produced in different environments and different grades. So the target for us was, according to the results, to go back and re-optimize the trial, intervene, for example, in the selection of the additives, because they actually change the property of the material, and to offer maybe other properties such as traction, resistance, elongation qualities, so that it can be applied. And starting for the formula, we have realized that it is feasible and that we can even intervene, strongly intervene in reducing cost of the production process. And this is extremely important, because if we can reduce cost at the beginning of the value chain, we can also obtain some saving, money saving in the different steps of the value chain. So if we intervene on energy consumption and we can optimize this phase, above all in the steps of recovery of PHAs and also the excitation and drying phase, we can actually get some economic advantages. It's important also to intervene on the selection of chemicals in the production process, and it is extremely important to start from waste of the food industry, because in this way we can actually intervene in the circular economy as a concept and also reduce cost of the process itself. We actually didn't stop with the production. We also wanted to test some materials existing on the market in terms of PHA, and we realized some aspects. First of all, there is no specific market of PHA so far. There are some suppliers, mainly abroad, but they have a quite limited production capacity that right now could not ensure the quantities needed for a scale-up. And we also realized that what is ready on the market is mainly for semi-rigid applications, and this could be difficult for us because we wanted to achieve a flexible film. We have also realized that existing materials is different, because PHAs actually is part of a very wide and broad family, and so the choice of the additives strongly affects the processability phase and also the mechanical properties of the film.
La fase di estrusione, quindi abbiamo visto, è la
The
fase
extrusion
dal
phase,
pellet,
as I was saying, so when we go from the two polymers, the pellet, to get to the film, we tested it through two different techniques. One, the classical one, and the other one that was the co-extrusion coating and lamination line. So the process is feasible again by using the typical technologies available for producers of flexible plastic materials. We really have to intervene in the selection of process parameters because this material at a certain temperature degrades, and so we have actually to understand also the speed of the line and the temperature of the film. And we have to say that the trial was quite good. And it is promising, so we can obtain actually different thicknesses for this film. We started from 20 to 60 microns, so the idea was to have a material without micro holes that could actually undermine the barrier properties of the material. We have seen that it is easily handled and we can easily make it into a roll. And so the treatment that we have used, that is very typical within the packaging industry to prepare to the following steps, is absolutely feasible and advisable. The molding technique, so you see that the material is not transparent as the plastic polypropylene we are accustomed to. It can be sealed, and so we can really seal it. And this is extremely important, even if it's not that trivial to take into consideration, and even the look is quite pleasant. And we are talking about pure PHAs, so the one that you saw on the slide. As for the superficial treatment, you see the metallized and the alox effect. And you see that the alox does not modify in any way the look of the pure PHAs because it remains transparent and just slightly glossier, whereas the metallized is the one that we are more accustomed to. We wanted to guarantee the fact that this treatment could be in the Youngstrom order, so very thin in order not to affect the environmental impact on the biodegradability of the product. And we can guarantee that we tested it with positive results. We have also tested the combination with the PLA through the lamination technique. So we have seen actually with this combination what happened, and we have also tested the combination of PHA and PLA as laminate.
Allora, diciamo che è stato più un tentativo, ma
this was an attempt, so to say, but it does not guarantee the barrier property that was needed, and so we decided to leave it apart. We have also noticed that PHA behaves quite well in co-extrusion, so maybe it's better not to work with the lamination technique, but to work on the co-extrusion of this combination.
In tutto questo, per cercare di produrre un packaging
to
finale
try to produce a final packaging that was able to be compostable and biodegradable, we have decided to collaborate with a Spanish partner on a new ink. This ink is bio-based and compostable. It is water-based and quite innovative, and we tested it on materials that we use for the packaging right now, and also to verify the adhesion on PHA film. Results have been very good, and as for the adhesion on PHA film, we kindly suggest the corona treatment at the beginning. Going on with the results, we see the contact with the food, because you have seen that the case study was the one of a croissant directly in contact with the packaging. So we really need to be sure that the plastic material, bioplastic material, does not release any possible substance that could somehow undermine the quality of it and so the health. And all the tests that we have performed are extremely positive in this regard and were successful because they showed general compliance with the limits stated by the existing regulations. As for the environment, we evaluated the compostability and biodegradability of the material, and in both cases results were really interesting, because by using some simulations we have seen rapid and positive results. We have also performed some analysis on the life cycle assessment, and results were not that great, I have to say, because PHA, according to the parameters that we wanted to assess in this study, so PHA has shown a higher environmental impact than alternative packaging made from PE, PP, and potentially even PLA. However, we think that this trend could be reversed somehow when the process that is still in the lab, going on in the lab, will be optimized. So if we intervene on some essential parameters, for example, the choice of the feedstock, if we strongly intervene in the energy aspect, if we try to reduce chemicals, or if we try to change some parameters within a wide range of components and elements, then we are sure that we can improve the environmental impact. This is just an initial idea from the study that is not definitive, so to say, and it is strongly connected and limited by the parameters that we selected. According to 2 publications, we see different results and the details. So I have actually stated the 2 publications. You can go there and get some details if you need additional details. Conclusions: we think that a new bio-based material based on PHA can be a possible substitute to PP or PE. The new BioBarr material is not right now ready for the market. You have to consider that the research study has a TRL5. We should achieve a TRL8 to see some marketing potential. There are some gaps that need to be bridged right now, but we have also seen some strengths that can actually allow us to achieve some fast improvements and faster marketing potentials. Some problems that can be solved are the choice of the feedstock, for sure. So LCA has demonstrated that the choice of the molasses is not the right one, because it is not exactly waste. And so when I take the material off of the alternative because molasses is used for other things, then in that context I have to find alternatives, and these alternatives might have a higher impact on the environment. The most important thing should be to select a material that is actually industrial waste of the food industry with no alternative use. And so all results should be reconsidered according to this new perspective. Another problem to be solved, the scale-up process, because investments are needed in order to scale up production and to achieve a larger scale production. And this is strongly connected to demand. So the higher the demand, the higher investment we will be able to have. And extremely important is the choice of actives in the compounding phase, because they extremely affect on the features of the final material. So we are actually concluding some tests that can be really interesting for businesses, so the value chain analysis, for example, and some assessment on the shelf life, just to understand if this material can actually have a duration similar to PP or PE. Briefly, I'd like to touch the upPE-T project. We are partner of this project. Just to show you some similarities, in the BioBarr project, we started from molasses to get the PHABV. The upPE-T project, financed by the European Commission, allows us to have PHABV, but starting from a more complex source. Just to show you that PHA can actually be produced starting from very different materials and raw materials. Just to be quick, the first step is to start from PET and polypropylethylene. So we start from plastic bottles to use them in an alternative way. So we use waste. We have to treat it and process it. We have to make it as small as possible in order to allow these species to be actually aggressed by enzymes. Through this enzymatic process, I will obtain a TPA and EG on one hand, and on the other hand, I will also have alkanes. These matrices are not optimal substrates to produce PHA, so we need a further step that allows me to start from alkanes and obtain a fatty acid-rich biomass, or starting from TPA to obtain a protein-rich biomass. If I mix them in variable proportions with food industry waste that are rich in sugar, this will allow me to obtain the PHABV. So, of course, this is related to a deep study of the microorganisms that I need to select, the proportions that I should use for the biofermentation in order to achieve the best result possible. The ethylene glycolic I was talking about, so EG, I was referring to, is now becoming a solvent that allows me to extract PHABV. Starting from here, we see the entire process of the BioBarr project, the compounding phase, the testing that for BioBarr was in the bakery. In this case, we have had the possibility to test it in other sectors. For example, with the exhibition that we have today, we can test it for the meat industry, the cheese industry, dairy products, bakery again, and sweetness, so to say. These are my references, and this was related to this project with PHBV and other components. And here you find my details if you need to get in contact with me. So thank you very much, Marianna Faraldi. We are quite late for our conclusions, and we can draw the conclusions that we have worked hard, but we needed to work harder. The concept is that the supply chain should follow the same direction. When we talk about sustainability, we see different aspects. We have seen different components of the same target, because the target is to have a sustainable packaging world. And so we have to act on one hand on materials, and on the other hand on the best disposal possible. And we can do this through the help of apps, digital tools, training, education of consumers. And so we really have to act also with producers, collaborate collaborate with producers, give them some tools in order to build the trust within consumers, and also in order to be able to build sustainability, environmental and economic sustainability. So I think that today we have seen a small part of this world. So once again, I'd like to thank the speakers who participated today. So Giulia Picerno by CONAI, Fabio Pighini by TECNOALIMENTI, Federico Guidi by REALMORE, Eric Jones by Inexto, and Marianna Faraldi once again by TECNOALIMENTI. I'd like to thank all participants for listening to us. In case you need further details of information, we are here available to share our contact details and some follow-up data of what was presented today. Thank you very much for your attention.